Hey again, y'all. Here we are for video number 4 in the Equitable Distribution series. We have about 5 topics to talk about. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm in my new office. Hopefully the echo is not going to bother you because I don't have any rugs on the floor yet and no pictures hung. I did get some nice flowers from my girlfriend and her husband celebrating my new office, so that's always nice over my shoulder there. So let's talk about equitable distribution. We have mediation that is part of the process in divorce, and I support using mediation and settlement to avoid the really out of control costs of litigation, of going in front of a judge. So if you want to go and have your say in front of a judge, you're going to pay a premium for that. But litigation is not the only path. Mediation is a great option, and here in Brevard County, it is required to attend. You're not required to settle at mediation, but you are required to make a good faith effort. So mediation offers married couples a way to resolve any property disputes outside of court. It's a lower cost option, you have more control, and of course you have greater privacy in that process because you don't have to be in a courtroom giving testimony about all the good, bad, and ugly in your relationship. So the mediator can, they function as a neutral third party, and they can help both spouses to see what's on the table and how can we resolve this. It's a way to enter into a fair agreement. It's often faster to settle right before, at, or shortly after mediation than it is to go to a trial. Equitable distribution settlements are a big part of mediation, and mediation involves equitable distribution, so they go hand in hand. When you go to mediation, you need to go prepared. So you want to have all of your facts. We talked about in an earlier video about how we can prepare and be informed before we enter into any settlement negotiations or into settlement documents. So you want to make sure that you are aware of what your assets are, what your debts are. You want to have values to the best of your ability. If you need to get appraisals done, whether it's an appraisal of real property or appraisals of grandma's silver, whatever it is that you want to make sure that it's property valued. If you can get an appraisal or have it valued, do that before mediation. I typically tell clients, you know, it can be simplified to what do you owe and what do you own. So if you have a list of all of those items, the equitable distribution can be addressed with perhaps an Excel spreadsheet or a handwritten ledger, whatever you are comfortable working with your attorney and with the mediator. Definitely mediation is a way to minimize stress overall and to maximize your outcome. It's definitely worth considering. So what happens if you can't settle in mediation, at least as it relates to equitable distribution? So sometimes couples just can't agree. Sometimes they can't agree on anything, and sometimes there's only 1, 2, or 3 things that can't be agreed upon. So maybe we decided who gets the cars and who gets the 401ks and who gets grandma's china or a wedding gift, but we can't decide what to do with the house. Well, you can go to a judge, and a judge will make that decision for you. I tell my clients when a judge makes a decision, rarely is either party happy. Sometimes there are small wins on each side, but overall neither party is going to get everything they want. But a judge will step in and help you out by deciding how to divide your assets and your debts. And of course, when you go to court, just like mediation, preparation is everything. And preparation for court is why litigation is so expensive for the parties. You will need detailed financial records. So the handwritten ledger, probably not going to fly for litigation like it does for mediation. You also will need some expert witnesses, perhaps to value, an appraiser, perhaps to value your house, or an expert in, say, firearms. If there is a gun collection that needs to be valued, you'll need a firearms expert to make that value and to testify at court for that. So it's definitely a big preparation. The judges consider lots of factors, including fairness. Again, equitable means fair. If anybody's dissipated any assets, and of course, each spouse's financial standing is part of this as well. All right, let's talk about tax implications with equitable distribution. So property division, or the dividing of all of your various types of property, doesn't just affect your bank account. It also can affect the next time you file your taxes, and sometimes it can affect the filing of your taxes over many years. For example, selling property can trigger capital gains taxes, splitting retirement accounts without quadro, which is a qualified domestic relations order. That's definitely not a great idea without considering the tax implications. So retirement accounts, IRAs, traditional or Roth, 401ks, you want to make sure that you're considering whether you need a quadro, which you probably do. And if you don't use one, you want to make sure you understand the cost of that, because if you don't, you may see, and likely will see, penalties from the IRS. Keep in mind, as a tax implication, alimony is taxed differently from property. So 401k money might be more valuable because it's pre-tax, or Roth IRA money might be more valuable because it's post-tax. Sometimes for certain parties, the value of real property might be more attractive and beneficial. So as you're structuring your settlement agreement, you want to make sure that you are aware of your tax implications, and you want to check with your CPA or your tax advisor, and also, if you have a financial planner, talk to your financial planner. Okay, so how does child support affect the division of property? So equitable distribution can and does influence child support calculations. This is especially true when one parent or the other is receiving income-producing assets, like perhaps a rental property or a business interest, whether it's a small business, like my business as a lawyer, or it could be a large business, like a large electronic manufacturing firm that maybe has 3 partners. But those are income-producing business interests. So because they're income producing, it will affect a child support calculation. If the property settlement has a drastic effect on one party or the other's financial picture overall, the child support amount might also change. Courts want to ensure that kids involved in a matter maintain a stable lifestyle regardless of how the property is divided. So something to consider is that if you are taking assets that are cash or cash-like, the court here typically will assign a return of about 3 to 4%. So for $100,000 value, a 3 or 4% return could be included in your income when calculating child support. All right, so here's a few general mistakes to avoid when you're talking about equitable distribution. Divorce is emotional, but it is a legal process through the court. So here's a couple of things to think about as you're going through equitable distribution. Don't forget to include or evaluate all the marital debts, okay? All of them, no matter what form they are. Don't ignore the tax consequences of settlements. You need to know them, and you need to strategically prepare for those. Don't overlook possibly hidden assets. Not everybody hides assets. Sometimes assets that are hidden aren't worth chasing because it's $50, but maybe it's $50,000. So don't overlook it. If you choose not to chase after an asset that you think might be out there because it's too expensive to chase it, fine, but make that a reasonable and rational determination not to pursue it. And don't go it alone without an attorney. You need to have an attorney's advice, whether you have them on retainer or whether you have somebody that you can call on an hourly basis just to ask questions or review documents. You need to have some legal advice as you're going through equitable distribution. It's important. So also remember to protect your financial future. The future of your financial life is at stake in an equitable distribution case. So you want to document everything all the way along. You want to work with the right people, and you want to avoid taking any shortcuts in preparation, because you definitely want to be prepared as you go into either mediation and or litigation. Here in Brevard County, you have to mediate, so you might as well prepare for that. And if for some reason you can't settle all of the issues in your case, then you can be prepared for equitable distribution litigation. Here in Brevard County, I'm licensed in the state of Florida. If you have questions, I'm happy to try to help. If you have questions in another state, then seek an attorney in your area, and stay tuned, because we're going to have equitable distribution videos, probably another 4 or 5 to cover all the topics. So thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want to be updated when I load new videos. Bye.